Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast in Game 2 in a best of 5 series between Nirvana and Az here on Kulas Ravine. Az spawned as the blue Protoss player on the top left hand side of Kulas Ravine. Meanwhile, Nirvana spawned over here as the red Protoss player on the bottom left hand side. So once again a Protoss mirror match here on Kulas Ravine. And I'm kind of surprised to see Kulas Ravine actually chosen in this particular matchup. Kulas Ravine is one of those maps where a lot of players generally try to avoid just because there's a lot of real cheese play. But I guess in a Protoss versus Protoss mirror match, it is going to be whoever cheeses versus whoever goes for a standard build. Now, when I say cheese, I'm talking about some sort of proxy or a proxy pylon here, perhaps with a robotics facility, or the same thing down here, because there is this very, very weirdly positioned opening here. So what this allows Protoss players to do is they hide hidden tech, able to warp in units, and also able to train units as well. So having a Stargate here, you get access to all of your gateways, and on top of that, you get access to Phoenixes and Void Rays. Same thing with a robotics facility, warp in units, and then you also get Immortals as well. So taking a look at Az accidentally microed all of his units to start mining once again, so that was a little bit of a mistake. Gonna go ahead and pull up the production tab. As you see, both sides now just doing the same exact thing, training probes, getting gateways, and this game is now underway. Game 1 in this series was a 4-gate versus a 2-gate with a Stargate and a robotics facility. I think the robotics facility was a little bit, the Stargate was a little bit of a mistake, only training up one Phoenix in that whole entire matchup. And that one Phoenix cost him dearly, as he could have gotten an additional production building, perhaps to even do a little more damage. One probe now coming in, so Nirvana realizing where Az has spawned. Meanwhile, it looks as though, yes, we are going to get Az coming into Nirvana's base. So both sides doing pretty much the same exact scouting mechanism, and now a pylon being hidden over here. Now, as a Protoss player, Az may come into this base and be wondering where that additional pylon is. He knows, based upon the saturation of this, that if he's able to continue to train up more units, another pylon has to be placed somewhere. So Az really needs to be on the lookout and look to see if there is a proxy pylon in his base. This one probe will be able to pull out in just a moment, taking some damage, but only just taking shield damage. Back here, we now see another probe trying to go after this one particular pylon. We see a Cybernetics core come in, only one gas, and now we're going into a 2-gate. So Az with now a 2-gate opening, and now Nirvana also with a 2-gate opening. So both sides doing the 2-gate, making sure to stay even in this fight. A probe, once again, coming off the mineral line, trying to deal damage towards this probe. Probe already down to 5 hit points, will be able to pull back in just a moment. Once again, we should see a Stalker now being trained in addition to that Warp Gate research. Both sides pretty much a straight mirror match here on Kulas Ravine. Gateways, probes, Stalkers, Warp Gate, one pylon for Az. Are we going to see a pylon coming in from Nirvana anytime soon? No pylon coming in from Nirvana, even though he will be supply locked in just a little bit. However, no, it is going to be a proxy pylon that I was talking about earlier. I did not watch this game, so I do not know what's going to happen. But yeah, there is a proxy pylon, and I liked Nirvana's positioning on this pylon. What this does is, in order to gain line of sight, this probe needs to come all the way around here in order to see it. He can see into this position, and even if the probe moves into right here, he will not be able to see this pylon. So thank you, Az, for sending one probe there to check if there was a proxy pylon. However, there is one, and you are going to get proxy pylon in just a moment. We do see another 2 gateways being laid down, so both sides going for the 4-gate push. So it is going to be a 4-gate push. Both sides will be able to get some Stalkers, some Zealots, and some Sentries in just a moment. That Cybernetics core nearing completion on this warp gate, and now chrono boosting for that last little bit of time. Not quite sure why. If there was 30 units of time left, that would have been useful. However, getting that an additional 3 seconds faster would not really help all that much. However, he is moving out, so Nirvana really going to be able to utilize those warp gates in just a moment, and we should be seeing some units come in here in just a moment. There we go. 3 Stalkers now being warped in. A 4th Stalker should be coming in as well, as another gateway turns into a warp gate. Here, you do see Az has some Zealots, some Sentries, and some Stalkers, and now the Stalkers are engaging. Nirvana pulling back with that one Stalker very, very low on hit points, or sorry, shield points, wants to let that Stalker slowly recharge. Nirvana will be able to continue to train up more or warp in more additional units here. However, I'm not 100% sure what exactly will be happening in this fight, and more Stalkers and Zealots being warped in as well. So Az will be able to perhaps pull some probes off the middle line and get some additional fighting as well. Nirvana also has one pylon in this shrubbery here, so there is 2 proxy pylons in this, and now Nirvana throwing down another pylon here. So will this be enough? Stalkers and Zealots now starting to engage. Stalkers being microed very well, trying to stay within that ball and able to fire as one unit against those Zealots. Zealots actually taking some hit point damage. So now you see some sentries being warped in, and now this is one of the things just about Kulas Ravine. There is no ramp on your front door. So without this ramp, units can simply walk in and gain full sight without having to worry about any engagement or any defense. Zealots now engaging, Stalkers trying to push out, going after those sentries. Sentries getting picked off there, and now we see some Zealots. Oh, a very nice force field, causing 2 sentries to get taken down here. Nirvana being forced to pull back. His army is getting taken down a little bit, down to 625. More Zealots now being warped in as well. Zealots and sentries continuing to fight back and forth. We do have a couple low hit point units. Both sides taking a lot of damage, and Nirvana trying to focus fire against those sentries, and those sentries now taking damage as well. Nirvana trying to do the best Stalker micro that he can, and this one Stalker down to 12 hit points. Will it be able to pull back in time? Oh, able to pull back just in the nick of time there. And now with 12 hit points, one attack would have taken it down. However, now Az did not want to overcommit into that fight. The further he comes out within his base, the farther his reinforcements would be forced to come. And now some Zealots and Stalkers engaging. Zealots taking the brunt of that damage, as now more Zealots continuing to push. So Zealots against Zealots, Stalkers against Stalkers, both sides, and now Nirvana getting a little bit of that lead, able to fight, continuing to just focus more and more units, trying to get some damage as those units warping in. Zealots now trying to engage, so a line of Zealots fighting each other here. Those Zealots do take minimal amount of damage from those Stalkers, only 10 instead of 14 as this fight continues. So it is going to be a pure Stalker battle. However, these Stalkers now being forced to pull back. Are we going to get these Nirvana units to turn around? Not quite yet. There we go. One Zealot overcommitting himself down to 19 hit points. 3 attacks should be able to do it, as 1, 2, 3, there we go, as more Stalkers continuing to fight. Stalkers only deal 9 damage against a Zealot, that is why, and once you hit the armor. And now the Zealot's continuing to fight back and forth. Down goes another Zealot there. So Nirvana able to just keep up this pressure. Now will this pressure and this siege be enough? We do see more units being warped in here, and now as going into perhaps more gas, so he should be able to warp in some additional sentries. So sentries and Zealots would be a nice combination of units against this very, very large Stalker army. 2 Stalkers cost the same as 2 Zealots and 1 sentry, so that 2 Zealots and 1 sentry, so you would be able to macro up a much larger army, and these Stalkers would be doing minimal damage against the sentries and the Zealots. However, more units now being warped in. A lot of chrono boost on the Nexus should be used in order to reduce the cooldown on this fight. Nirvana now trying to use that move and attack ability to focus down some more of those Zealots, and Zealots are now getting taken down. Nirvana now warping in Zealots in the front, and now Az will be forced to retreat once again. One Zealot, however, overcommitting himself, will get shot down. There we go. And as now more Zealots as they're warping and taking damage as well. So Stalkers now going after those Zealots as they're warping in, both sides taking a fair amount of damage, and now 625 versus 1100. However, 3 fresh new Zealots warping in, 925 versus 1150. A sentry now joining in on this fight, so Nirvana will be able to get perhaps a force field or a guardian shield off. If he's able to get a decent guardian shield off, or perhaps a well-placed force field to disrupt and split up Az's army, he should be able to deal enough damage, and then since he's already in the base of Az, be able to finish this. However, the army of Az is slightly larger, and now it looks like he's just warping in sentries and Zealots. The Zealots have a faster cooldown as well, so he's able to warp in Zealots more quickly than say he would be able to warp in more and more Stalkers. So now Zealots 1750 versus 1375. 1 observer for Az, so Az able to gain sight. We should probably see an Immortal coming in. Where is that? We definitely need an Immortal as this fight. Zealots now engaging. Force field splitting off this attack. Very nicely done. Now all of these Stalkers unable to engage here, and now Az getting a definite lead in this attack so far as this fight continues. Now Nirvana being forced to pull back here, and now force fields same ways, but not catching as many units there, so only catching 1 Stalker. 1200 versus 1075, but we should see some more units now once again being warped in. 3 Zealots, 1 sentry. We are getting a Colossus. Oh, this Colossus is absolutely brilliant with that robotics bay. That Colossus will be able to get into this high ground, and as soon as this high ground is taken, this pylon will be taken down, followed by this pylon, as that Colossus will be able to see this pylon very easily. And once again, this fight occurs. Another beautiful force field, and now Az is going to take this game. I think Az, with that brilliant force field usage, able to take out a lot of these units from the fight. These units unable to really engage here. Sentry's trying to engage, but now it's starting to go into the tipping point. 1375, 1500 versus 1200, and as this Colossus comes out, this Colossus will swing the battle even more further. We should probably see another Colossus being trained in just a moment. And now one Zealot overcommitting himself there. Why doesn't this Colossus just park itself over here, continuing to push? As my friend Ryan asking me how it's going. Down goes that pylon, and now with that Colossus able to deal so much damage, able to continue to push and deal a lot of damage here. So this Colossus just doing so much damage. And I am going to put away my my busy so that you guys do not have to read all of my messages. We do see more Colossi and Stalkers coming in. 2125 versus 1575. No extended thermal lance research. However, Az in a very, very strong position now as he continues to macro up an even larger army. I'm surprised Az is not trying to take down these destructible rocks. If he does take down these rocks, he would be able to expand over here fairly easily. And as soon as he expands into this position here, he will have an advantage. Now, we already see Nirvana doing what I was talking about, trying to establish an expansion on this high ground. If he gets this Nexus down and is able to mine from it for quite some time, he will be able to beat out Az. But however, Az is just confining himself to one base play so far. And now, with only one base play, he will be out of minerals in just a minute, and that is going to be a definite issue. Az needs to win the game with what he's got. Otherwise, he's going to be in trouble because he won't be able to establish an expansion very easily. However, Nirvana is not setting up an expansion on this high ground. So Stalker's now trying to push out. One Zealot going to walk to his death there, as now two Colossi, a couple sentries, and I believe there's even a probe in here. Yeah, one probe here in order to get some warp in as well. Do we see any research? No research yet. We have an expansion to the high yield mineral location on the far side of the map, and now these Colossi Stalkers are going to go ahead and engage one force field. However, because of these Colossuses, the Colossi are able to walk through that force field, and those force fields are not dealing any damage or not doing anything at all. We do see some Stargates now training up some additional Phoenixes, but that's going to be GG. These Colossus will simply be able to walk over the rest of that army, and that is it. So beautifully done by Az staying cool under pressure in this game between Nirvana and Az on Kulas Ravine. Very, very critical that he was able to get that Colossus and fight with it continually. Also, I think he should have just moved the Colossus into this position here, and then with that range of 6, be able to deal a lot of damage. Also, then cut off his opponent, and then once his opponent overcommitted, he would have been able to take the game. But however, Az doing a great job with beautiful force field placement. And then once that force fields were down, he was able to split the army of Nirvana twice. Also, when Nirvana was trying to use force fields to guard his choke point, he had forgotten that massive units can walk through force fields and take them down. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Nirvana and Az here on Kulas Ravine. Stay tuned for Game 3 in this best of 5 series.